You are listening to socialtv.co.za with myself, Nokuthula Khwela. In our top stories, Investec adds 2 new Promaths Centres and invites learners to participate in the social challenge. And free new short course on SDGs from UJ. Beginning with our top story, Investec's Corporate Social Investment Division, CSI, in partnership with Khwela Centre for Maths, Science and Technology, is pleased to announce the opening of 2 new Investec Promaths Centres in Limpopo and Eastern Cape, respectively. Promaths is a program that provides extra tuition in maths, science and technology to learners in grade 10 to 12 at select schools across the country. It began in 2005 when Investec, in partnership with Khwela, established the first centre in Dobsonville, Soweto. The initial objective of the program was to develop a sustainable maths and science learner performance support model that could be replicated across the country to benefit as many learners as possible. Having succeeded in this immediate goal, 17 years later, Investec now supports 10 Promaths Centres countrywide, with a capacity for more than 5,000 learners benefiting from extra lessons provided over weekends and school holidays. Sihlohane Manjidi, Head of Corporate Social Investment CSI at Investec, explains that the 2 new Promaths locations were selected specifically given the need in these provinces which have been experiencing the lowest maths and science national senior certificate performance in recent years. Moving on to our next story, African ministers meeting in Cairo 2 months ahead of the COP27 climate summit called on Friday, 9th September, for a sharp expansion of climate financing for their continent while pushing back against an abrupt move away from fossil fuels. Egypt, an oil and gas producer considered highly vulnerable to climate change, has positioned itself as a champion for African interest as it prepares to host the summit in Sharm el-Sheikh in November. A communique released after a 3-day forum for finance, economy and environment ministers said Africa benefited from less than 5.5% of global climate financing despite having a low carbon footprint and suffering disproportionately from climate change. It urged rich countries to meet and expand climate pledges and said poor countries should be able to develop economically while receiving more funds to adapt to the impacts of climate change. The document stressed the need to avoid approaches that encourage abrupt disinvestments from fossil fuels, as this will threaten Africa's development. In our next story, the University of Johannesburg UJ has launched a new online short learning program, Introduction to Sustainable Development Goals, and made it freely available for anyone to complete. This is part of UJ's efforts to help upskill and reskill people for current and future jobs. The latest 100% fully online short learning program offering explores the contested nature of the sustainable development discourse by highlighting the core features of the 2030 agenda and responses to it. The short learning program, Introduction to Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, is part of the institution's commitment to providing alternative means of acquiring insights into how sustainability has been perceived, as well as thorough introduction to the SDGs, what they are, how progress can be scaled, and how the SDGs play a role in the management of the global systems supporting humanity. Current students and members of the public can now enroll for free for this fully online course. Anyone with a grade 12 certificate or higher can enroll for the course. There are no classes to attend and all assessments are in the form of quizzes. There are 5 units to complete and a digital certificate will be issued on successful completion, which may be viewed and shared with third parties or possible employer through the UJ Digital Certificate platform. In our final story, on the 8th of September 2022, Power Learn Project PLP, in partnership with Adanian Labs SA and the ICRG Group Startup Business Campus, launched the 1 Million Devs for Africa program in Thulamela Municipality, Thohoyandou in Limpopo, and the Northern Cape at Berkeley West. This is in line with the organization's mission to provide inclusive, accessible and affordable tech education to young people across the continent. Recently launched in Johannesburg, South Africa, PLP aims to train 1 million software developers across the continent by 2027. South Africa is the second country in Africa after Kenya to introduce the 1 Million Devs for Africa program. To recap our top stories, free new short course on SDGs from UJ. For more CSI news, you can visit our website at www.socialtv.co.za.